So, in the most recent Nintendo Direct, Nintendo announced that they would be releasing Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door for the Nintendo Switch, and this looks to be a remake of the original Nintendo GameCube game from way back in 2004, which would make it a 20-year anniversary for the game. Now, this comes at a surprise for everyone because even with the recent leaks that have been posted on Twitter by Pioro, there hasn't been any mention at all in regards to a new Paper Mario game. So, what I wanted to do was just give my thoughts about the trailer, any thoughts I had in regards to the potential for modding the game, and my overall thoughts about their decision in remastering this. So, first off, it goes without saying that I am extremely excited that they are deciding to bring back this game for a multitude of reasons. The first being that, in my opinion, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door is one of Nintendo's best games that they have ever created. So it is refreshing to see it once again here on a new system. I think what really blew my mind about it was their use of the lighting in the game, as it makes the characters stand out and they look phenomenal on the Switch itself. The lighting actually kind of reminds me of Color Splash, which that game had some very well done lighting as well in various different areas, which made it stand out as being one of the better looking games on the Wii U. And to see them use the same lighting techniques, or rather even better lighting techniques, it seems here, for TTYD, it makes me extremely happy to see that because it really shows that they aren't just, you know, slapping a sticker on it and it's the same game and, you're buying it all over again for $60. Which, don't get me wrong, I would do anyway, but it's still refreshing to see it as a new game. What's even greater about this is that we haven't had a traditional Paper Mario in this sense ever since TTYD back in 2004. The games that came after it, Super Paper Mario Sticker Star, Paper Mario Color Splash, and The Origami King, have all been pretty different overall, and shying less and less from your traditional RPG sense, in favor of more action platforming. And while those have their own pros and cons depending on which game you're talking about, it never really truly felt like a true sequel to The Thousand Year Door. Everything from the battle system, the way the characters are drawn, and the worlds that you explore has all been changed ever since those games released. And we've never been able to really go back to this formula up until now, it seems. And I think that it may be a mix of Nintendo listening to fan feedback, as there has been plenty of criticism from fans all across the globe about how they didn't really get, that original feel when playing Paper Mario Sticker Star. And the puzzle battle system for the Origami King sometimes felt too complicated or just too simple, depending on if you were good or bad at puzzles. And for the most part, you could just, use single items and just sweep through the game. And without an experience system, battles never really felt worth playing in those later games. But now it seems like we are really truly going back to the original style of Paper Mario, and that makes me very, very excited to see and very excited to hear, because that means the potential for us having a sequel with the partner system, experience, and true RPG elements that the series is known for is finally coming back, and it's well worth to actually see that. Now, for me, being someone a part of the modding community, I was extremely excited that this released on the Switch because the Switch has a very active homebrew scene, and it is pretty simple to make and create mods and get things up and running. And I myself, ever since the Origami King released, have dedicated a lot of my spare time over the past 3 years to truly understanding how the Origami King works, and made quite a bit of mods for it, and am still making mods actually as we speak with the Origami King Refolded. So take everything I say from this point with a grain of salt. It is purely just speculation. It is just my thoughts, just purely from the game releasing on the Switch. Now, to try to make this as easy as I can to explain, I'm going to break everything down into three potential groups that I can see that are important for modding, and that would be asset modding, reference tables, and game scripting. So for asset modding, this is things such as your music, your textures, your character models, your UI elements, all those things. And those things are, for the most part, pretty easy to edit because thanks to a tool known as Switch Toolbox, you can edit those things pretty simply. And there's Citric Composer for editing music files, and they use pretty common Nintendo formats that are already well known. So I can see this as being a very easy way for new modders to jump in and immediately start modding the game day one. What makes this really special for TTYD is that the character models are layered in the sense that different parts of the sprite itself is actually layered on top of each other, which allows for smoother animations and reduced amount of textures needed to create the animations. Compared to Color Splash and the Origami King, where one animation, or say just standing in place, may have three individual sprites that have to be drawn. So for Mario being the main character and having tons of animations throughout the game, he has well over 1,000 individual sprites that are used for various different things. But luckily for TTYD, since it's all layered, you would more than likely only need to edit one sprite sheet, or maybe a few, depending on, say, if it's Mario or an important character that just happens to have extra pieces. But even then, it's still not that much compared to the Origami King or Color Splash. So, from an asset modding standpoint, I can see that being extremely easy to do. And I believe that most people are going to go here once they want to jump into it. So, the next thing I want to talk about is reference tables. And this is probably, I would say, the biggest chunk that has progressed modding in the Origami King. To explain reference tables as simply as I can, for the game to know what characters are on a map, it keeps a table of what it is, the location it is, and what script it may be running when it's activated or when Mario interacts with it. Say for Mario talking to the character, for example, maybe a script attached to it. And there is a reference table that tells the game, hey, this character here will interact in this way with Mario at this location, for example. With editing reference tables, that has allowed us to add new characters, maps, enemies, items, plenty of things to the game because as long as the assets are present and the item is present in a reference table, then the game will load it. And so, with those two things, that's why we were able to get as far as we could with the Origami King. And I'm hoping that it is the same with TTYD because if so, then we can look at things such as increasing the different types of items, the different badges, different enemies, things like that. That would allow us to just add more to the game and make changes if it uses a similar reference table structure. And if the formats are exactly the same as the Origami King, then I can see the potential for modding, battle stats and things like that to go just immediately through the roof. Now, the very last thing that is a little bit more difficult to talk about is the game scripting because even as of the making of this video, we truly don't understand the game scripting for the Origami King. And this is because it's in a format that seems to be something that intelligent systems made themselves specifically for that game, and we don't have any sort of editor to be able to truly understand how these work. So that being said, what are my plans with TTYD? Modding wise, I am going to dedicate myself to writing the first initial guides of how to get started with modding those games. And I'm going to create enough tutorials out there so that way you can follow through and start making your mods, because I believe that the best way to make the scene grow is for people like us to show what can be done, explain what can be done, and then give it to the community so that way all of you can start making your own things. So my final thoughts about, TTYD coming to the Switch. Um, if I can be 100% honest, I am excited for it, but I am slightly disappointed that it's not Paper Mario 64. And the only reason why I'm disappointed is not because I don't like TTYD. Don't get me wrong, I think that was a smart decision. It is overall a better game than 64. It's the sequel, it improved upon it, and it deserves it. But I personally just have, a nostalgia aspect for the original game, and I would love to have seen that, come back as something, new and refreshed. And it's just a for me kind of thing. It's a me problem, not really anyone else's problem. It's just something that I would like to see. But who knows? I may be able to put 64 into TTYD on Switch. So who knows? And that's pretty much all I had, guys. I appreciate all of you stopping by and checking out this video. If you're looking to see more modding things from myself, please do me a solid and like the video and subscribe if you want to see more things like this. I appreciate you all. Thank you.